Hey guys, Mike here. Welcome back to the Sim Racing Den. So this is going to be an off-the-cuff video. So I don't know how long we're going to go here, but I want to make sure that I give you guys as much information on all the different accessories for the Invicta pedals. So as the title suggests, I literally went out and I bought and ordered every single accessory that Asetek Sim Sports at the time of making this video offers for the Invicta pedals. Now, it's interesting with a lot of these accessories that have come out. I think a lot of them have come out from Asetek because of feedback on the Invicta pedals, which is really cool to see that a manufacturer is listening to feedback and then coming out with something that potentially resolves that so that they can make sure every single one of their customers is happy with the product at the end of the day. So definitely appreciate that. But how worth are some of these accessories? How much do some of them matter? Are you going to find them useful? That's what I'm going to hopefully try to help you with here. It's going to be a little bit difficult to explain a lot of these things because a lot of these things are based on feel and they're going to be subjective, and everybody's driving style and what they're comfortable sim racing with is going to be completely different, and my experience might differ a lot from yours, but I'm going to try to give you at least all the information on them. Maybe which ones I think are worth it and which ones I think you could pass on. And then I'll give you my own experience using them and let you know which ones I'm going to continue using. So the Asetek Invicta pedals, I did a review on these a while back. You can check that out. I'll put a link up here if you're interested in learning more about these pedals. I've been really happy with them since I got them. There was definitely a change from my sprints. The big difference with these pedals is if you've done a little bit of research on these already, is that the brake pedal is an extremely short travel and can be an extremely stiff brake as well, depending on the elastomer that you put in. And we're going to get into all the elastomers in this video. But it's definitely a pedal that's not for everyone, the brake specifically. I would say the throttle and the clutch are pretty straightforward. The throttle is there's nothing crazy to write home about it, but it does the job, and it's a nice feeling pedal. And I'll talk about some of the springs and things like that to adjust the overall feeling. But the big thing with these pedals obviously is the brake, right? You can see here on the pedal cam like how short that travel is. Like I'm already now at the second stage. So this is a 2-stage brake system. So you have the soft stage as you're traveling through, and then I literally hit a dead stop here, and I can modulate slightly. You can barely see my foot moving, but from here I can still modulate the brake force as well. So, if you're someone who drives a lot of road cars or even rally cars, this is not going to be a travel that you might like. I mean, I don't even know if it's realistic for GT3 cars as well. It depends maybe on the car. Now, Asetek, explains that this was designed around real racing. They race Audi R8 GT3 cars. So, they're obviously basing that a lot on what they've seen now. But, I think though the benefit of this type of brake, and I've seen a lot of benefit from it, I definitely have noticed my lap times, my confidence in braking improve when I switched from my sprint pedals to these. It took a lot of time to adjust to this type of brake. It was definitely a learning curve for sure, but once you sort of get the hang of it, it really becomes quite natural, and I'm actually really enjoying it. But I have been fiddling a lot with the different elastomers, the travel of the brake, using the travel kit, which I'll talk about, just to kind of see if I can fine tune it, because I think even for me too, the travel is a little bit short for me. I wouldn't mind a little bit of extra travel in the pedal, but I'm definitely getting used to it, but it doesn't feel like... I still feel like there's something more out there for me. So we'll see what happens. But let's go into the accessories, or else I'm just going to keep rambling on here. Let's talk about the first one, because I mentioned travel kit. So this is the long travel kit. They say kit, but it's really just this one piece. So there's not really much of a kit to it. So at the end of the brake, you'll see on the pedal cam, right? You see the stopper there, basically. I don't know what the actual word for it is, but basically all that's doing is it's screwed onto the brake cylinder rod, and it's applying pressure up against the elastomer. So, but that's going to stop once that hits. You see the end of the Thorpe system. That's going to stop, and then you're going to hit the second stage. So the one that's on there right now, which is the default one, is 10 millimeters shorter than this, or you're getting 10 millimeters more of travel. So they say it's a 40% gain. I'm checking my notes here. So this is going to be 35 millimeters of travel on the long travel kit, and the default one is 25 millimeters. So it's not a huge difference at all. And I got to be honest, in using them, it's noticeable, but it's not such a big difference from the default travel that I don't think you're gonna see. You might not be getting what you expect. If you're gonna buy this and you're gonna expect that it's gonna change the whole feel of the brake pedal, it's just not the case. These are designed to be a short travel. That was the intention from Asetek, and this really doesn't change that drastically to turn it into a different pedal. So if you're unhappy with the travel of the pedals right now, I don't know if this is gonna like completely change your mind. But if you just are feeling like you need just a little more travel, then I think this could definitely help you out and might be worth buying. It's 16 euros plus shipping. It's gonna be, I don't know, here in Canada, I think it was $40 or something. Don't quote me on that, but is it worth it if you think that you want a little bit extra travel? When you switch to driving road cars or you just don't like the travel of this pedal, then give it a shot, right? It's not going to be a huge waste of money if you don't like it. I personally, I've tried it. I tried it for a while, like doing a couple races for a couple weeks, and I ended up going back to the shorter travel just because I had become accustomed to that now, and I felt this was actually too long. And I was kind of hoping that it would drastically change things a bit too for me, because what I find is if I go into like something like Asetek Corsa and I just want to drive, like just cruise around, drive a normal road car, obviously this brake travel just does not feel realistic at all to driving a road car in my experience, obviously, and I think a lot of people. So it's just not going to be that type of brake, right? If you are driving road cars and you want that feeling more so than often, then I really don't think the Invicta pedals are going to be for you then, honestly. But if you really, you want to be competitive, you enjoy GT3 or even Formula style racing, this is going to be a very realistic type brake, and it is going to definitely, I think, help your performance once you get used to it. But I mean, I can't guarantee that. That's for me, I've found that I've been able to be more accurate by now relying on the muscle memory of the force versus the travel. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I actually do enjoy it now, and I can see that muscle memory kicking in when I go back to certain tracks that I'm familiar with in a car I've driven before. My muscle memory kicks into terms of how much force I need to press and going into that corner versus having to remember the travel. So it does work, but these pedals are not for everyone, and I don't think this is going to like turn it into a pedal that you're going to love if you are not happy with it and not happy with the travel. It's not going to drastically change it. Okay, so that is the long travel kit. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to a simple one. This is the throttle footrest. Okay, so you may have seen something like this before. There's a couple different companies that make these. I think HRS is a popular one that I've seen on other people's rigs. All this does is it's going on the throttle pedal and allows you to rest your foot. If you're doing a lot of endurance racing on the straight, you can get a bit of a break to be able to not have so much pressure in your knee and your thigh, keeping your leg balanced. You can rest that against the throttle. So it's not a revolutionary accessory, but for somebody that likes using throttle footrest and you have the Invicta pedals, this will do the trick for you. Now, this comes in two sizes. This is actually the large size. When I was having a lot of trouble actually deciding which one to order, right? Like, I'm like, I don't have super big feet, so I'm like, do I need the medium or do I need the large? Because the size is dependent on this width here, right? It's not the length, it's the actual width. So what I found is I figured the large made sense, just looking at the pictures, and like it does give me enough space for my foot to still be resting on the pedal properly. And the small one, seeing where this now sits on the throttle, if I had ordered the medium, I honestly think that my foot wouldn't fit on the throttle pedal personally. So I don't know. I think you should just go with the large unless you have a lot of tight space on your rig and you think that this is going to brush up against the side of your rig, then you maybe want to go with the medium. But I got to be honest, I've never used one of these before. I don't honestly do a lot of endurance racing. I actually wish I had more time to actually sim race. I just haven't lately with a busy job. I'm never in a long enough race where I felt that I needed to do that. But it is nice to have. You know, if I was going to do an endurance race, I might want to throw it on. But I got to be honest, I found an issue with it, and this could just be me and the type of shoes or something I wear. Now, I've been doing a lot of racing in socks lately, as of recently, and I normally race in shoes. But what I found is when I'm wearing my like Sparko or my Puma sort of racing type shoes, that these actual grooves here, that they're so open that I found like I can feel on my feet those grooves and sort of my feet or toes kind of getting stuck in it. It's kind of hard to describe, but it was noticeable enough that I could feel my feet on the grooves, and I actually didn't find it comfortable. So I'm wondering if just, you know, if these were smaller or if this was just all flat surface with no holes, that might be better. But I don't know. For me, it felt awkward, so I ended up taking it off, right? But I don't know. I'll try it again. I didn't try it with socks, but I'm thinking the feeling will probably be worse with socks because I'll feel my feet kind of going into these holes. It just didn't feel comfortable. All right, for me. So yeah, pretty straightforward. You know, throttle footrest. You might be able to find one from other companies. I don't know if HRS makes one for the Invicta pedals or not. If they do, I'll put a link in it if you want in the description. But I'm sure maybe somebody else is going to come out with something, or maybe you can make your own. Actually, sorry, one thing before I go to the next thing. The holes here, so this is what lines up with the Invicta pedal faces, but this footrest is not going to work if you switch to the Forte pedal faces, which I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about those next, actually. These screws are going to only line up with the holes. I've got the Invicta pedal here, right? So that's going to line up. And then the footrest comes with hardware to attach to the pedals, right? So your pedals are going to be attached to the arm basically, and then this attaches to the pedal. So just keep that in mind. If you're using the Forte pedals, you're not going to be able to use this particular footrest. So let's talk about the pedal faces while we're talking about those. So right now on my rig, you can kind of see on the pedal cam, but I've been using the Forte pedal faces actually lately, the smoother pedal faces. So these are the Invicta pedals, and you know, a lot of the initial reviews that came out on these pedals, and even myself, I mentioned it. You know, these grooves here, they're pretty pronounced and pretty raised, and you definitely feel those. And it can be uncomfortable if you are a person who likes racing with socks or maybe bare feet. I think bare feet, you're definitely going to be uncomfortable with this unless your feet are really strong. But with socks, I find you can really feel your socks rubbing up against this, and almost it was starting to kind of ruin my socks a little bit. And the Forte pedals are completely smooth, so they're much more sock friendly. But even if you use shoes, some people mentioned that, I think it was Lawrence on his channel, he mentioned like even his shoes, his racing shoes, were getting teared apart by this raised sort of bevels here, right? So I didn't find that personally with my shoes. I didn't find like I was collecting a lot of rubber on the pedal base, but I actually enjoyed these for a while, and then because I had decided to purchase these Forte pedals to talk about them, I've now kept them on my rig. I actually prefer the feeling of them, the smoother feel. I just find it more comfortable even with shoes. But I've been racing with socks a lot lately. Actually, I picked up the Muradness socks. I have no affiliation with Daniel Murad. I've been using his gloves for a long time, and I thought, you know what, let's try the socks, right? I thought they looked cool, and I wanted to see how they work. They're really comfortable. They have a little bit of padding on the sole and the heel, so they feel really comfortable on the pedals, and they have these little grips. And these things are super sticky, the grips. Like your foot kind of sticks to the pedal, but I can still slide and modulate the throttle pedal. But I can, with the Forte pedal face, I find it a lot easier, especially on the throttle, to be able to modulate, kind of slide the foot. With this grip, you're not going to be able to slide as much as possible. Now with some shoes, if you have flat racing shoe soles, they'll still slide on this a bit. And what I found is after a little while, I think these were actually wearing down a little bit of the rubber so that it was almost making my shoes smoother. But yeah, so you have the option now, right? Like I personally think that Asetek should have just either included the smooth pedal faces with the purchase of the Invicta pedals, so you could just decide at that point when you buy it, or just maybe include it as a free option when you order, so you can either opt to order these or opt to order the smooth Forte pedal faces if you know, like, you race in socks all the time and you know for sure you're going to want. It just seems kind of like a waste, because then you'd have to buy the pedals and then add these faces on, and then you're going to take these off and never use them again. So it's kind of a waste, but maybe they'll change that in the future. I don't know. I hope that they maybe listen and take that feedback, because I know some other people mention the same thing. But for me, I'm really enjoying the Forte faces now. The brake pedal itself actually is like slightly wider on there than the one that's included. And yeah, it's just more comfortable, especially when you're braking in socks in like high forces. You know, this was starting to really like hurt with socks. Like I did a full race in socks on these pedals, and after a while of you know, hard braking and things like that on certain tracks, you know, your feet start to get sore. So yeah, I think if you are on the fence about it, I can definitely recommend the Forte pedals. They feel great and they're easy to install. It's just a matter of unscrewing the screws and attaching those. So yeah, pretty straightforward. So let's go to the next accessory. So throttle springs. Now, the Invicta pedals out of the box come with 2 springs. They're pre-installed with the default spring, and it also comes with a softer spring. And you can see like the spring is a very thin spring compared to what's on there right now, and this is apparently softer. Now, I found that the default spring with no preload, with the default preload, like none applied, you know, was just way too soft for me. Like I just found like my foot was just like the throttle was just slipping so quickly, and I had no control exiting out of corners. I couldn't modulate my throttle at all. So you can adjust the preload with the 2 screws down there, and all that does is shorten the spring or make it longer, and then obviously making it more initial force to press down. Like I have just like a slight bit of preload on it. I don't know if you can see in the pedal cam, like if you see a bit of the rod towards the pedal, like that's how much I've adjusted it. Right now, because of the angle of my pedals too on my rig, I think by changing the angle, it's actually applied more force on the spring as a result. So I didn't have to apply that much preload. Like I do like a little bit of force, so I can just kind of easily modulate without that like flying down, right? But I don't want it too firm that, you know, I don't want my throttle leg to start getting worn out, because that's definitely going to become uncomfortable after a number of races. So now, if you find that even at the highest preload setting, so let's say that's the shortest spring length, that's still not strong enough for you, now they sell the it's a stronger throttle spring as an optional accessory. So I was reading on their website that this is actually included in the Forte pedals, which is interesting. So I'm assuming the Forte pedals come with maybe a lesser strength spring, and then you can go stronger with this. I'm not really sure, but I'm just wondering why they didn't just include this and the soft spring and the default spring to give people all 3 options. But I mean, that may be a little bit too much. I think 2 spring options, because you can adjust the preload anyways. I think most people are going to be able to find the resistance they're looking for. I would say, like, look, if you own these pedals and you've got the preload like maxed out and you still don't find that strong enough, then maybe you need to go to this. But I have to say, like, honestly, for the throttle, there's enough room to adjust the preload that I think you can get these to where you need them. Like if I was to go any further on the preload than what I have right now, and I did try that, it just was too much force for the throttle. You don't want to be tiring out your throttle leg, right? The braking is tough enough in some cases, depending on what you have this set at. You don't need your throttle, because you're doing a lot of minor adjustments with your throttle, and that's going to get really worn out. Your leg's going to get, or your ankle's going to get worn out probably pretty quickly, I would think. It did for me. So, but just know, if you are someone who does not find the default spring strong enough, you have the option for the stronger spring. And it's pretty easy to switch out, though. It's not as easy as I would have liked it to be, because you actually have to remove your pedals from your rig, because you have to install this new piece here, which is where the spring goes at the back of the pedal. So if you look on the pedal cam, you see it's actually orange where this spring goes in at the end. So that actually has to be replaced with this new, I don't know what this is called, but because this is actually deeper to accommodate this sort of, I guess it's a thicker or bigger spring. But either way, in order for this spring to work properly, you need to change that out. And the only way to do that is to remove one of those arms where the throttle attaches to the base plate there, the back of the spring, and then get this in and then put your spring in, right? It's not as easy as changing to the soft spring, because you can just unclip and flip that rod out. pull the whole spring assembly off and then slip a new spring on. You're not going to be able to just slip this on. You have to change that piece. So it's a little bit of annoying, but like that's the thing. You have to know for sure that you're a person who wants a firmer throttle and to go through that work and switch it out. But yeah, worth trying if you are finding the default throttle not strong enough for you, but I have not had any issues with it. It's a throttle and it works great. And the preload that I've got here is just enough for me. So let's go to, I think we're at the end here almost. We're going to talk about the Elastomer Kit. So this is where things get a little more complicated. I'm going to have to look at my notes here so I don't screw anything up. But by default, you have what is considered the medium elastomer that is installed in the pedals when you take them out of the box. And it's a white elastomer. And in the box, when you buy the Invicta pedals, you get a green and a black elastomer. The black one is a softer resistance or softer amount of force than the default, okay? This, to reach the second stage braking, the black is gonna be 30 bars of pressure, okay? The default one that's in there right now is 40 bars. Then the green one is going to be 60 bars. So that's gonna be like, this is gonna be very close to real life race cars in terms of 60 bar, though some race cars you need like 100 to 90 bar, right? But they have G-forces helping them to help depress the pedal. But I would say for sim racing, and this is going to be where it's going to get very subjective and it's going to depend on the person and your leg strength. I definitely don't work out at all, so my legs are probably not as strong as maybe somebody that does a lot of workouts and leg exercises or is just built stronger and has that ability to apply more pressure. To be comfortable for me, like I don't want to have to be tired after sim racing, right? Like for me, it's fun and I don't want it to become a chore or a workout necessarily, but I do want some amount of realism and want to feel like, you know, there's some effort into it. I kind of think it adds to the experience, at least for me. That's why I like my wheel to be, you know, the forces to be pretty decent. I don't want it to be too light because I just find that it takes away from some of the immersion, and that's just my personal opinion. So I've been kind of going back and forth from the black elastomer, because this is very comfortable to use, to get to like 30 bars is not too bad. And I'm probably using the brake pedal a little bit wrong, and I'll explain why. Because basically how I have it set right now is that to get to about 80% braking force, that's like 30 bars, right? And then to get to the second stage or the end of the second stage, that's 40 bars. That's how I have it calibrated on my setup. So what they're saying is that realistically, to get to the second stage on the white, it should be, that should start at 40 bars, okay? So I'm probably not actually making it all the way to the second stage. Although I do feel it stop, I'm probably not actually all the way there. Like I'm really pressing down right now. If you're looking at the pedal cam, like I'm giving everything on my foot right now. And I can sort of feel the stop there, but I just have it set that 80% is like about here, right? And that's more than you want to set. I would say you want to set 80% of your braking force to, you know, exactly the max pressure you'd want to put that's comparable for you, and then set the next stage to 100% beyond that, because realistically you're not going to want to ever hit 100% when you're braking in any corner. It's just, that's not going to make sense necessarily unless you're coming to a complete stop in a race. So, you know, having it like the highest that you're comfortable with to 80%, that's worked for me because I don't find myself locking up very much, and I find it still achievable to continue to brake throughout a whole race and not get completely exhausted. Though I have to admit, my leg is a bit exhausted after a race, and I'm sure even real race car drivers feel the same thing after a long race, and that's okay, right? But you don't want it to be, I would say you probably don't want it to be at a point where you're really straining yourself, right? If you have the strength to manage and use the stronger elastomer, like go for it. That's the great part about sim racing, is that everybody's setup is different and it's set up to what they're comfortable with, because to be competitive, it doesn't matter what equipment you're set up. It's all about how you combine everything for yourself. So that being said, let's talk about the Elastomer Kit, because what Asetek has done is sort of extended the options now of the elastomers. So this kit that they sell comes with 5 elastomers in total. Now, so I'm going to start in the middle and sort of go back and forth. This yellow one that's included is exactly the same elastomer as the default white one. Exactly the same, 40 bars to hit the second stage with this one. So what they've done with this kit is 3 of the 5 are the exact same 3 elastomers that are included in the Invicta pedals. So if you think you're getting 5 different options, you're not. You're actually getting the 3 defaults that you already have, but you're getting 2 options on either scale. Okay, so going up from the yellow, they have the, now there's 2 greens. I gotta make sure I get it right. The dark green, this is the same as the black. This is lighter. This is going now down from the medium elastomer to 30 bars to hit the second stage. So same elastomer, okay? Now, going further down, this is where if you find that the black elastomer on your default, like on your Invicta pedals that you have, this is the softest that's included out of the box, is still not soft enough for you. And I found this actually pretty comfortable, and I don't know if I'm gonna switch back to this because the white is a bit tiring. This is nice, but I kind of like the stiffer feel of the white right now. Now, if you want to go further down from the black elastomer, they now include in this kit this light green, or whatever you want to call this. I call it olive green, but this is going to be a lot lighter. And I did try this, and yeah, it's definitely a lot lighter. If you think this is going to be close to a road car, it's not, because it's still a short travel pedal, but like this didn't require very much force at all. So if you're finding you're still struggling with the white or the black elastomer in your kit and you think I need something softer, then this might be your friend right here. Okay, so going up the scale now, so going beyond the yellow, so this is, consider this the middle of the scale. Then we go to orange. Orange is the same as the green that's included in the box with the pedals. So again, like the three of these elastomers are the same elastomers you already have. It's their exact same strength that's needed. Okay, so the orange is 60 bars. So this is getting very close to real life race car kind of forces. This is going to require a lot of force. Now, this is where you get a different elastomer at the top end of the scale. So 90 bars, this red one here, which is included in the elastomer kit, this takes you above that strongest elastomer that's included with the pedals. So if you're finding that that's not enough for you, then you may want to get the elastomer kit to try out the red, because this needs 90 bars to reach the second stage. And now we're talking like, this is like real life race car stuff right here. So this is not going to be for everyone, but if you got super strong legs and you can handle it, this might be your friend right here. So yeah, like the elastomer kit, here's what I would say about the elastomer kit. That's the thing. You've got 3 elastomers already included, which probably will satisfy like 90% or 80% of the people with these pedals, I would think. I'm just making these numbers up, but you know, you've got 3 different strength levels, right? Like I'm still kind of trying to decide between the medium and the soft one, and I keep kind of going back and forth. And right now I'm on the medium, and I may change my mind and go back to the soft. But if you have found that you still need something softer than the softest one that's included, then you know that light green one might be the one for you. Now, I don't understand why you got to buy the whole kit, but I guess it makes sense. That probably doesn't make sense for Asetek to just sell, you know, single elastomers, but it kind of seems like a waste, because you're going to buy this kit and you're going to use one elastomer, right? You don't actually, like, why would you buy this kit and then you've got this strong red one at 90 bars when all you want to get to is the 25 bar one at the lightest end of the scale? But that's how these things go sometimes, right? To get the options, you kind of have to buy the kit. So I don't know, like the elastomer kit is a tough one. I think if you're trying to get close to, you know, you want a longer travel and a softer elastomer to kind of get more of a road car feel, like I would say the long travel kit combined with this light green, that's going to kind of really help transform these pedals. It's not going to transform them night and day, because they're just by default still going to have a shorter travel. But I think these two combined, that's going to kind of give you maybe the experience you want if you're just finding that you're not enjoying the brake at all. So maybe the combination of these two is something you want to try. For me, honestly, I have these now, but I'm quite happy with the default setup still. But we'll see. I'm going to play around with them a little bit more and see what makes sense. But I think that gives you at least a good idea of everything that's included and what you're going to get here. So yeah, that pretty much sums up all the accessories that are available. I think that, you know, you can see some of these which make sense for you and some of them that don't. Some of them feel like a bit of a waste, like I said, with the elastomers. If you're just looking for a slightly different feel, you end up with all these elastomers that you don't necessarily need, but that is the situation. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching me ramble, because I know I'm terrible at doing these off the cuff, but I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions on the accessories, or you want me to try something out for you before you buy them, let me know. I've got them now, so I can do whatever you need me to do. If you want me to send you a video or send you a photo of something, let me know. If you're curious, I am happy to help you out. That's what I'm here for. So thanks again for watching, and until the next one, stay safe. Happy racing.